Hey guys, Danger FPV here. Tonight I'm going to be doing a build video of the Grvdigr Ghost5 5-inch frame. I did an overview not too long ago on this guy, so now I promised you guys I'd do a build video. I've already got my Luminier 35 amp BL HeliS 4-in-1 ESC mounted and soldered. You can see here I went around the back standoffs this way, in the front it's narrower here and a little bit wider there. I'm using the rubber vibration dampening standoffs underneath the 4-in-1. I think I'm going to change that. The only reason I'm doing that right now is because I don't really like how long these supplied screws are. They only give you about 2 to 3 threads. I feel like in nylon standoff you're gonna lose your standoffs in a crash, so I might just supply my own screws, longer ones that come, you know, through a nylon standoff and then through, and then I'll put the rubber ones holding the flight controller to give it vibration dampening. Or I might just use nylon all the way up, and they've actually supplied some rubber O-rings, so that might be the other option. So those are my two options right now. For this build I'm going to be using the Micro Swift. I'm going to try out this TBS White noise board. On this side you can direct solder your TBS Unify Pro Race VTX on top, and you can do XM Plus receiver on the bottom. And I'm also going to be using the Rotorgeek SSD flight controller. It's a really nice flight controller. So I'm going to give that a whirl, and then I'll use this pigtail, and I got to come up with a way to mount my Omnivision stubby antennas. I really like those antennas. They're really durable, and I've got a lot of them, so I'm going to try to keep using them for a bit. Shout out to Grvdigr, and yeah, let's get this build going. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I've got some kind of, I'm not real happy with the joints in this area, so I'm going to redo them. I've used this flight controller for almost a whole year now. It's been rock solid, highly recommended. So what I've done is I've got this flux pen. I really recommend, even with flux core solder. I'm using MG Chemicals. You know, you're going to want, oh, I'm in the light there. You want this stuff. The 6337 mix, it's really good. Makes your solders really nice. So even you know, some old solder, even with the rosin core, it'll look way better if you put a little bit of resin on there. And what I'll do is I'll just kind of hold the backside with my tweezers, and I'm going to reflow it. And then a nice shiny joint. Again, hold it, reflow it. Reflow that one. Then I'll snip the tops off because I've got a little bit too much wire sticking out the top there. And the ground popped out, so the next thing we'll do is I gotta put the ground wire back in for the 4-in-1 ESC. Alright, so highly recommend a set of these guys. And yeah, you just give each of the tips just a little snip, make it look nice. You don't want to have a bunch of, you don't really need a bunch of wire sticking up. I just like to give it a little snip. Now, you can see here, I've lost the ground on my 4-in-1, it's broke. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip it, and I'm going to use solder wick. I'm going to put some resin on here and a little bit of resin on my solder wick, and then I'll suck this solder out and put my ground back through. I find that's the cleanest, easiest way to do it. Alright, so I've got my solder wick prepped. You can see it here. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to put the tip of the solder wick onto the solder I want to remove. I put my soldering iron right over top. You can see the wick taking up all the solder. there you go. Hole's clear. Solder's gone. This stuff's called Super Wick, again by MG Chemicals. Stuff is awesome. I use it all the time. Yeah, it's all pretty premium. So the next thing we're gonna do is just strip this this ground wire. Use your little snips. Always pre-tin everything. Pre-tin every wire that you cut. You shouldn't be really soldering anything dry. So, you know, tin every wire. Through holes, obviously, you're not going to tin those. You want them clear, so you'll tin the wire like so. You know, get a little bit on the tip of the soldering iron. Just give a little bit of solder there. Place it through the ground. Now, if you're really careful, you can get away without clamping the wire. Come in from the side, you know, touch in, touch the wire, touch the tip just with a little bit of solder, and you'll get a perfect little solder like that without having to clamp the wire. Now, if you're new and you're just getting into it, you know, I recommend, when I started, I would, you know, clamp this wire so that it wouldn't push through when I was trying to get my soldering iron on, or if you've got a bunch in a row that are really tight, you'll definitely want to, you know, clamp the bottom. So now I'm gonna take these wires out because it's not gonna be the way I'm gonna route this, and I'm also gonna be taking the XM Plus off because I'm gonna put it onto the, you can see here, there's pins here, so I'm going to pin it and put it on here. Alright, so I'm not going to show you guys removing that, but when we come back, then I'll show you with everything taken off. Alright, you guys can see that I've stripped out all the accessories off this board. You can see there's some discoloration there, but the discoloration is, it's just from the resin. The resin kind of turns a color. I think a little bit of rubbing alcohol and a swab will take that right off, I'm pretty sure. I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to solder back into it. It'll look fine. I'm probably going to put conformal coating on it as well because winter is here now. And we want to maiden this thing, so we don't want it to get soaking wet. Alright, so we're going to use this white noise board. It's a great idea. Basically what it's going to do is these pads here are going to lay, you know, on top of here, and it's actually going to directly solder down to that pad. So it's going to be super low profile, really clean. It's got its own built-in heatsink. It's just a really cool design. So we're going to use this board for this build, and then on the back side is going to be our XM Plus. So it'll be really, really nice and really tight. Alright guys, you can see I'm making some progress here. I ended up using the rubber on top and some short standoffs underneath the 4-in-1, and I ended up going to some other screws. I just don't trust the ones into the nylon. I just don't think they're gonna hold. So, you know, we gotta do what we gotta do, and that's where I am so far. Next step is I'll get this all soldered up. I finished the board that's gonna hold everything. It's really nice, so it'll look really good. Hey guys, so here it is all together. Show you guys what I've done. You can see here, focus, I've got the white noise board with the TBS Unify race in there. I didn't end up putting the XM Plus underneath. I ended up putting it under the flight controller because the power and ground on the Rotorgeek's flight control board was really close, and I thought it would make contact and ground out, so I actually ended up putting it underneath. One thing to note on the micro mount, comes with silicone O-rings because it will fit the mini and the micro, So you have to put black O-rings, silicone O-rings on each side of the camera. So what I did is I assembled the camera plates with the O-rings and the supplied screws, and then I installed the camera. I haven't put the receiver wires in yet. I think I'm going to mount them kind of straight out the back on some zip ties coming out here. My propellers will be spinning, you know, this way inside, so they should be safe out the back. And I'm still trying to figure out what I'm going to do for the antenna. Might come straight out the back, or I might come up somewhere here with my antenna. But yeah, if you have any questions or you guys need any tips on building this frame out, love to help you guys out. Anyway, thanks for watching my video. Bye.